Do I just start talking? Okay. Hi, my name is Red Cheater. I'm 45 years old and have been working in park service for the past 25 years. My dad was the lead scout at the Snow Rose Forest, so that made it a little easy to get into the field. Hell, if I wasn't one, I'd probably be working in a factory or something, spending the weekends going hiking and back and forth. I'm lucky to have had such easy access. Maybe too lucky. I don't know. It all seemed like one big blur to me. Like I was born working in the tower, in the woods. I've loved the forests my entire life. Our house was right on the outskirts of the Snow Roses, so we always visited. My dad got us the best campsites, the best trails that were never busy. Everything was always great when we went out. By the time I was a teenager, I was on my way to becoming an Eagle Scout. Most of my time spent out in the wilderness, with my dad at his work, helping out. Sometimes I'd be getting him coffee, sometimes I'd help mark trails, and sometimes I'd even lead hikes. One summer I even got to spend a few days with a Firewatch ranger for a few days. Anyways, right after high school, I began working full-time as a ranger under my dad. It was hard work, but I did it. Hell, I really did love it. Most days were spent either sitting in a treehouse or picking pebbles from my boots. Shining sun or parka weather, I walked those woods. That was until around 5 years ago, when I started taking up Firewatch jobs. I really like walking the woods, but I've always hated paperwork. People always come and start illegal fires, shoot off fireworks, hunt game even though you weren't allowed to in national forests. Sometimes there were situations when kids ran away and got lost. You had to go search for them. People got hurt. There was one year when a couple that was bird watching fell from a tree, and the husband cracked his head open. We got him, don't worry. He's still living happily with his wife, but things like that happen. The forest is so dense, so immense, that it can take days just to find the same spot afterwards. After my 20-year celebration party, I started thinking about that stuff. I remember looking over the huge woods and just thinking, this is what I like. I like the forest. The endless rows of trees. So that next morning, I led our lead ranger, Harry Terry. My father had retired a few years before and said that I wanted to start doing more fire watches. I guess this is where I tell you about what I saw, right? It's kind of what I'm here for.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, it began the first summer that I was scouting. It was a 3-month term I was to be out there. The pay was great, so my wife was okay with not seeing me for a while. I mean, she'd come out every so often, see how I was doing, and we'd go on hikes and stuff. You know how it is. I tend to like to savor stuff like that nowadays. Makes me sentimental, but hey, you gotta be like that sometimes, right? The first 2 months were fine. I did my job as I should, ending every day looking over the park with a cup of coffee. During one of my routine trails one day, I found this little campsite looking thing. It didn't look like much, but I could easily see a big pile of little dolls made of sticks and stones and bark and all of that. It took me a while to realize it was probably some sort of ritual thing going on. I don't know. I threw them away once I saw it there for about a week and went on my way. And then one day, I started noticing little things that didn't seem too off, but just enough. I'd walk trails that I had been walking for years and just find myself at the wrong turn. I shook it off as just fatigue. Sometimes I felt like trees I'd see in places were just gone later. Giant pine trees, just poof, gone. It was making me feel uneasy, like I was overthinking things, but I did everything I could not to think about it too often and just keep doing my job. I completely forgot about it until the next year when I began hearing voices. I'd be sleeping. Owls hooting outside, random forest noises, and then I'd hear a creeping whisper, an indistinguishable monotone voice telling me things that not even I knew, things about other people, I was terrified. I'd walk my trails and do my duties with an eye always over my shoulder. The constant fucking noise would run through my ears. Sleep got hard after that. Even after I came back that second summer, I was starting to see things in the forest. I could see faces in the trees. Not just regular faces, though. They were twisted. All of them had this curved and mangled expression. Their bark making mouths of infinite teeth formed from shards of wood. Every tree I looked at couldn't take its eyes off of me. I felt like I was going insane. How else could I describe it? Voices were torturing me in the woods. That isn't just a natural thing. That summer wasn't the worst, though. I didn't hear it the next year. It was quiet, like it should have been. Memories of the voices showed up, sure, but they didn't keep me up anymore. I thought I could finally forget about it and be friends with the forest again. It had been so long. And then the fourth summer came. Nothing happened for the first few weeks. I ran rounds, blah, 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 boring Firewatch stuff. Evelyn, my wife, even came to stay with me for the first little bit. It was against the rules, but I didn't really care. Spending months away from my wife wasn't something I appreciated. We laughed, we even tried to have sex in as many trail paths as we could, relive some of our youth or something. It took the edge off, but once she had to go back to work, she packed her things and we hiked back to the lot where I watched her drive away. This was about an hour before dusk, and the walk back to the tower took about an hour and a half. So I was a little worried, but didn't think much of it. I walked back a little faster than normal, so I still had some sunlight. The trails were like veins, though I knew how they all flowed, and soon enough dusk fell. I was close to the tower. I could see it over the forest just slightly. Sunset lit it up. It was the last time I could see it, really, and it was the last time anyone saw it. The closer I walked to the tower, the more I noticed the smell of pine. I always smell pine in the forest, of course, but this time it smelled more artificial, like the little things you hang in your car, and it was so strong. It burned my fucking nose inhaling it the way there.
What did she say?
I assumed that maybe it was just a problem with my cologne or something. I don't know. I made up some excuse for myself. And then I started hearing the voices again. They were faint, but they were there. It wasn't in my ear anymore, and it wasn't a whisper. It was everywhere. I could hear it creeping under bushes, from moss and nests, and all it said was watch, 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 over and over again, like a broken record. The initial dread made me shudder, and I picked up my speed, my nose burning more and more. Watch, 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 that's all And she was just hanging there. And the voices just kept getting louder and louder. Covering me didn't do any good. My ears, that is, it's still so loud. I can't tell you how long I looked at her. Because I couldn't remember. She was covered in so much blood. So much fucking blood. It dripped from her eyes, her mouth, her nose, smeared down her chin like she'd eaten herself. But I couldn't see any wounds. I was about to leave when I heard her talk lightly. Her voice was raspy, but loud. Her eyes stared at me, wide and emotionless, like she was just hanging there for a joke. All she said was,
What did she say?
she said, Evelyn is enjoying the scenery. Are you? I ran after that. I ran all the way to the road. I don't remember much else. They found the tower burnt down when I went to investigate later. Not a trace of Evelyn has been found. Not her car, her clothes, nothing. Just gone. Poof. I quit the services after that. But retirement will be good. Spend most of my days inside now. It's calming.
That'll be all.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been Firewatch, a radio drama crew production. Creative producer and director, Garrig Pfeffer. Writer, J.J. Major. Editor, Margaret Towns. Jesse J. Tharp II as the protagonist, and Shahad Abbas as the supporting character. Thank you for listening.